All right, everybody, welcome back in. This is Benjamin Parker with Sports and Money, Pro Football GM or something like that. I need to change the name. But we are here today with Ronan Summers, and Ronan covers the Rams out in Los Angeles. Ronan, how are you doing today, man?
I am fantastic. How about yourself?
Yeah, great. I mean, the weather is beautiful. The off season has been crazy. Even if I didn't have a favorite team, I would be enjoying this entire NFL offseason. It's been a spectacle, right?
Absolutely. People have been going all over the place. People are trading places. Just today, Matt Ryan to the Colts. I mean, come on now.
Yeah,
It's
I
awesome.
hadn't even caught up with that one yet. But I mean, it's that you don't be surprised if my ESPN timer dings in at some point. The season was fun. The playoffs were fun. The Super Bowl was fun, and the off season is maybe just as good, quite honestly.
Yeah, honestly, all of it's entertaining. That's the beauty of an NFL fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronan, you specifically cover the Rams, and we'll tell folks where they can find you at the end of our broadcast today. But just being a Rams fan, let's just start with that before we do anything professional here. Just being a Rams fan, it's been a minute since you guys actually had a Super Bowl title, finished it all the way through. So how exciting is it right now as we're coming off of it still a few weeks later? How exciting is that for you guys?
I'm ecstatic. I'm 20 years old. I turned 21 this year. So my Rams memories weren't Kurt Warner, Marshall Falk. It was Mark Bulger, Steven Jackson, Chris Long, Robert Quinn. So going from kind of the laughing stock of the NFC to uh, people calling us the super team, it's pretty great. It's pretty great, to be honest with you.
Yeah, again, I think about this all the time. If every team in the NFL took a turn at winning a title until everybody had won one, it would be 32 years between titles for anybody.
Yeah,
And then you got guys like Brady grabbing way more than their fair share. And, no wonder it's 50 years between titles for some teams, not the Rams. But it's a big deal to win one, even if that's the only one you get during your lifetime.
absolutely. And
I
this
do
was a
want to
good
ask,
one to win.
yes. Before we get to the Rams stuff right now, one question I didn't put on the script at all. Late third quarter, the Bengals are up. The Rams offense is struggling. Stafford's thrown 2 picks. Odell Beckham Jr. is not in the game. Um, what is the feeling like for you as a Rams fan, and probably for Sean McVay as well?
A lot of blind optimism. Um, you know, we had that defense, they had that offensive line, and you sit there and you just hope maybe they finally get back there. And they did. That second half was they went bananas. That was awesome. But I mean that was almost gut wrenching. That pretty much after that touchdown, that should have been a face mask on Jalen Ramsey
Right.
from T. Higgins that went for 1,000,000 yards. I mean, that was deflating. You come out second half, all right, let's do something, and then that happens. That took it out. Then the OBJ injury earlier, that
Yep.
was a tough game. That was a roller coaster.
I think gut wrenching is a good word for it. And, I didn't have a dog in that fight, but gut wrenching, I think, for sure. So, all right. Well, the Super Bowl's over and NFL reality starts to kick in. We're going to talk about several guys here, but let's start off the bat with Von Miller. I don't remember the numbers, but basically he's heading to Buffalo, right, for a lot
Yeah,
of money.
for I think 20 million a year, around that range. I think 17 and a half the first 4 years, something like that. Yeah, he's getting paid a pretty penny.
It's a lot of money. So you guys expect this to an extent, I'm sure, but at the same time, how disappointing is it to come off a win like that and then start to see a guy like Von Miller head off somewhere else?
It definitely sucks. Uh, yeah, he's Von Miller. He was a leader in the short time that he was there. AD loved him. The guys rallied around him. He seemed to be a really positive presence in the locker room. The Rams, and we'll probably get to it in a little bit, they're losing and they've lost a lot of leadership in the locker room. So Vaughn, he's kind of the pinnacle of a leader. If you ask me, whenever I think of the Denver Broncos, I think of Von Miller. You know, and how guys have rallied around him. So it was a tough loss for him, or for him to go. But like you said, we expected it. We won the Super Bowl, so we can't, I guess, feel sour about it. The way he exited a lot of Rams, I don't want to say a lot because I don't know everybody, but I've seen some Rams fans not super happy about how he left, with him saying he wanted to run it back. It's a parade, and then he's teasing a return to the Broncos. And his Twitter bio, it literally said Denver Broncos there for a while he was a free agent. And then of course, he signs with Buffalo. We probably couldn't compete money-wise with them. And that's probably what it came down to, because he said, I think at the end of the day, it came down to him, being able to take care of his and his own. And that's understandable. I can't hold a grudge against him. He won the Super Bowl pretty much for us. I don't know if we would have won it without him, to be honest. And then, that's probably not the best thing to say as a Rams fan, but that was a move that we definitely needed to make.
The competition this year in the NFL was so tight. There were 8 teams, I think, who could have won it. Definitely. And if you take out one major player or one coach from any of those teams, it's going to change all the results. So yeah, if you take out Sean McVay from the Rams, or Von Miller, or Aaron Donald, or Cooper Kupp, or even Matthew Stafford to a degree, you take out any one of those people, I think it's fair to say maybe we don't win the title this year, right?
Yeah.
Watching Von Miller go to the Bills, there's a chance he might even be winning the Super Bowl next year. I know the rest of the NFL isn't rooting for that, but the Bills were already a contender even without Von Miller, right?
Definitely.
All right. Well, after Von Miller, who else are the Rams losing that's important? You don't have to tell me everybody, but what's the next set of names that might be that are either definitely or a good chance they're gone from the Rams this year?
Well, like we've mentioned, Von's gone. Andrew Whitworth retired. He held down the left tackle position pretty much from the start of our turnaround for Sean McVay. So that's going to be a tough loss. He was the voice of the offensive line. He's Walter Payton Man of the Year. He was the first tackle, I believe, to ever play at 40 years old. So losing a guy like that, it's obviously going to be tough. But we do have Joe Noteboom, who has proven himself whenever Whitworth was injured. So I'm not super concerned about that, to be honest. It'll definitely be a tough loss, but I think we'll be able to kind of make up for it. Corbett, our guard, he went to Carolina. We're going to have to find a guard, plain and simple. We've got 4 of our 5 offensive linemen. Well, yeah, set. So I'm not too worried about that. The draft this year is pretty deep, so the West Snead is able to find some gems late. So I think we're going to be all right with guard. Darius Williams is another player. He was a cornerback 2. He had himself a good 2020. He had a little bit of a drop in 2021. That's probably why we let him go. We've got Robert Rochelle and David Long. They might step up. So that's pretty much it as far as the Rams losses. Oh, and then obviously Robert Woods, who that one hurt.
I'll get to Robert Woods in a second, but before we move off that offensive line, as I thought it was an interesting point, as good as Whitworth was his whole career and was last year for the Rams, just having somebody there at left tackle, yes, there will be a drop off, but it from what you're seeing, it shouldn't be a major hole or a weakness, certainly for a left tackle for the Rams next year, correct?
Now I could be eating my words next year, but from what it's looked like, Noteboom has seemed to hold his own in pretty much any circumstance he's been in. He did play in a playoff game, and he was matched up against Jason Pierre-Paul. I believe it was JPP. Pretty much the entire game against the Bucs, and he didn't. I don't believe he allowed a pressure. So it's something to look forward to. It's youth,
right? Which
the Rams don't have much of.
Yeah, and they're doing it a different way, but that's okay. But I do like that an offensive line, there shouldn't be a huge drop off, even if it's not as good as it was last year. To me, that's important. You mentioned Robert Woods. And I think from the notes we talked about, kind of a gadget player for you guys, did a lot of unusual things.
Fantastic run blocker.
Okay, good blocker as well then. How easy is that to replace, say, just from a speed and gadget standpoint, say with a 4th-round pick versus actually a receiver who can go downfield and high point balls and beat people one-on-one? What's your feeling heading into the offseason for that?
Well, for the Rams wide receiver room, I don't know if we'll grab anybody else because right now we've got Cooper Kupp, who, I mean, he's proven he can do pretty much anything, I guess. Van Jefferson, who's shown some promise. We drafted Tutu Atwell, who we kind of assumed would be that gadget returner type of player, like a Tavon Austin, but fingers crossed works out. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to replace Woods. Now, we did pick up Robinson in place of him, but I don't see him taking the same role. I think they have different playing styles and different strengths. So losing that type of gadget player is going to be tough because Woods was in motion a lot for us. He ran the ball every once in a while. Just the threat of him being able to take the ball on a sweep or faking a sweep and handing it off or whatever. It's Sean McVay. He'll be able to do whatever or draw up whatever. It's going to be a tough loss, and I don't know if anybody's going to be able to make up for it.
You mentioned something I was about to ask you, and we didn't prepare for this part. So we're dipping into scheme a little bit here. You're losing Robert Woods, who is that gadget jet sweep kind of a guy, the motion kind of guy. You're inserting a Robinson, who is more of a slottish, more of an outside, midfield kind of a threat. But with Sean McVay, I feel like he's very flexible. He's shown himself. 2 seasons ago, he was doing nothing but trip bunches, right? And then last year, he switched out a lot of that stuff for Robert Woods and to accommodate Cooper Kupp and a bigger arm with Stafford. I don't feel like from a scheme standpoint, you're worried about McVay being stubborn and refusing to change the scheme, right?
No. But, it's just the loss of the ability to, or the option to.
Right. And that's a huge deal. Again, there are players that you can't replace, and you just have to find a different way to win. I feel like McVay can do that. We'll talk about more him at the end. There's not a lot to talk about with this next question, but with the Rams, what's the biggest addition they have made so far this offseason? What have they done that has given them a chance to either improve the team or do something different?
Well, we've only made one outside addition, and that's Allen Robinson. Now, fingers crossed that we make some type of move within the next week, that second wave of free agency, people like to call it. But Allen Robinson, adding that 50-50 ball ability, I think is going to help Stafford maybe limit turnovers a little bit. Kupp, he does many things well, but 50-50 balls, I wouldn't say is at the top.
Right.
Which I think is fair. His run after the catch, he does a lot of things better, before 50-50 balls. Robinson excels at 50-50 balls.
Okay.
So that should, hopefully give us a little bit of more of a deep threat option. Woods and Kupp haven't really been, I guess it's hard to describe. They don't go down the field that often,
Right.
They're more over the middle, slants, ends, behind the line of scrimmage. They're not running go routes that often. With Robinson, you can kind of tell him, hey, it's 3rd and 12. Just run straight, jump up, try to catch it. And that's.
Sorry, you
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say that kind of fits Stafford, right? He's got the monster arm, not the most accurate guy in the world. And while you don't want to lose the potential of a Robert Woods, maybe the Robinson guy fits with Stafford a little bit better.
Yeah, there were a lot of times last year where at least I kind of noticed Stafford was kind of doing arm punts, kind of just chucking it up. And it was like a Ben Skronik or like a Van Jefferson, who was, the intended receiver. And they never really went well. It was like double coverage, but the receiver didn't really make an effort. He just kind of tried to go up with it. I feel like with Robinson, like you said, Stafford's arm strength That's going to hopefully, like boost the offense and make up for what Woods was doing. But I think Robinson is more like the receivers that Stafford had in Detroit, a little bit more scheme wise.
Yeah, and I know he's no Calvin Johnson, but you do think back to the years when Calvin Johnson was running around in Detroit, and Stafford could just throw the ball up to him. It's a major advantage, and I realize Robinson isn't that guy, but you are starting to tilt back more into what Stafford can do with that at least. I do feel like, again, we haven't touched on this a lot. I do feel like the Rams are now in the same position as the Packers have been for years, the Patriots were for years, the Steelers were for years, the Chiefs are just now getting into, and that is, it's hard to keep all the good players. Money-wise, it's just really hard to do.
Yeah.
Even if you like to start restructuring a lot of contracts. Does that feel about where the Rams are now? You just can't keep everybody and bring everybody new in at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that's why. That's what I keep telling myself. That's why we traded Robert Wood, because I don't think it was because of his lack of production,
Right.
Yeah, I'd say that's relatively where it's at. The Rams have shown that they don't really care about the salary cap. It doesn't exist to them. So
right.
That's why there's still that open door. Hey, we still might get Bobby Wagner after getting Allen Robinson or something like that.
Right.
But I mean, financially, I don't know how we're going to be able to add a crucial player or another crucial player for an extended amount of time without being in the same situation we were in this offseason.
Right. Exactly. So we've covered a lot of the major people that they've lost. We've covered their one big addition so far, which, and there may be more, there will be more. But as of right now, we are hitting that second wave of free agency and then the draft. As of right now, what's the Rams' best position group? And again, this can all change. It's fluid, but what's their best position group at the moment right now?
I had down the wide receiver room, and I think that's a pretty decent answer with, Robinson, Kupp, and Jefferson, with Tutu Atwell somewhere back there.
Right.
But I want to say the running back room. Cam Akers showed he was able to. Yeah. With, now I believe Darrell Henderson's coming back. So if we have Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers, I mean, that's a 1-2 punch that I'm comfortable with, because both of them can be our number one. They both have shown that they can be the focus, the number one guy, the bell cow for us on any given Sunday. So I'd probably say the running back room, because whenever you look at other teams, it's hard to find two guys who can take over the offense for them. There's a couple of teams out there, Packers, for instance, with Jones and Dillon, but
there's a lot of teams who have tried. I know that, but teams who have actually found the successful two running back, it gives you so many options. If one guy's hurt, big deal. The other guy can carry the load for a month. Who cares?
Right.
If one guy's Mr. Inside and the other guy's Mr. Outside, it gives you the flexibility. If one guy's better at catching the football and the other one's better at running, you've got the options there. Having those two running backs gives you so much flexibility in the offense, and for injuries, for the Rams to have that, I think that's a huge ability for them. On the flip side, at the moment, I know this is fluid, it'll change, but where is right? We hope. Where is the big hole on the team right now? What position group is struggling the most right now?
Linebacker.
Okay.
Linebacker. That's why everybody on Twitter is rooting for Bobby Wagner to come home to LA and join the Rams. That would be a huge addition. Ernest Jones last season, he was a rookie out of South Carolina. He showed a lot of promise. He had himself a really good playoff stretch, but he was injured for a lot of the regular season as well.
Okay.
He did show that he'd be able to hold it down for the foreseeable future if he wanted it. But we do need a second middle linebacker. Troy Reeder, he's a run stopper, and that's it. No pass coverage ability is really there. I mean, every once in a while, every guy has a spur of a moment, but we need to shore up that inside linebacker role. there's so many times where we just get killed in the run game. And we're one of those teams where if you're killing us in the run game, it's hard to get back offensively.
Right.
Yeah, inside linebacker. Sorry.
And I don't want to stay stuck on Bobby Wagner, but I will say, since you mentioned him, and I didn't study film on Bobby Wagner from last year, but historically, Wagner has been the guy who's been amazing in pass coverage, but has been Hall of Fame level good at stopping the run. I'm not sure that maybe you can name 5 linebackers in the entire history of the NFL who have been better at stopping the run than Wagner. And he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's just so smart. He's so quick. He's so tough. He knows how to slip through and find the holes. Even if you don't have the Hall of Fame Bobby Wagner anymore, still got to be a good run stopper there and decent pass coverage if you can get him, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, I would love that for the Rams. We'll see where he goes. And again, I know there's a million options on the table, and you're having to pick out 13 of them. So we'll keep an eye on that. Sean McVay, where do you put him on the list of NFL head coaches? And I know we're coming off a Super Bowl win, and it's easy to get excited. But when you step back and take a look at who else is doing good right now over the past, say, 2 or 3 years, where do you put him on that list, and where do you rank him?
Can I just give you my top 5?
Absolutely. We got the time, man.
Perfect. All right. So 1, I'll give Bill Belichick. I think that's pretty clear. 2, I'll give Sean Payton. I know he's out of the game now, but I think he'll come back. Rumors is Cowboys maybe in a couple of years after a TV deal. And then I think it's Sean. He does have flaws. The offensive play calling can get a little bit forced.
Right.
You find on 3rd down, we're throwing behind the line of scrimmage every so often. It's a little bit of a head scratching move. Right. He did have the stat of what was it, 38 straight wins or something when leading at halftime, and then last week of the season we gave it up to the 49ers. So I think he's a fantastic head coach. I'm scared to death that he's going to give up coaching and go to TV. I'd put him at 3. I think Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid are right there behind him. Those are 2 fantastic guys who've been doing it for a while. But Sean, he's completely turned around this franchise. I mean, whenever you look at what we were, with Fisher and before that to now, it's insane. How sound we are, how willing people are to come here and to be coached by Sean. It just speaks volumes.
And there's a lot of different things we can hit with there, but I'll start right there with how much guys seem to like playing for him. When I look at McVay at a distance, I sometimes wonder would I actually enjoy being with him, but the players really seem to enjoy that. They don't seem to want to leave unless they just have to. Right. They seem to want to come there, right? He seems to be the players coach, right?
Yeah, and thankfully so, because it's Los Angeles, California. You got to use every bit of the, persuasion as you can.
Right, and he doesn't. And again, I'm a huge believer in no matter whose work you study, football, basketball, business. If you sit down and watch one person 24/7, you're going to find all the weaknesses, all the flaws, all the cracks. So I don't think even Belichick is beyond that at all. So absolutely. I definitely think there's weaknesses in McVay's game, but I love his ability to be flexible with scheme, to energize the players. I don't have any problem with him being up there top 3, top 5 as a coach. And I haven't done my own list, but I like everything that I see, both from players coach to being able to be flexible with scheme. He seems to have a good handle on the X's and O's as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm forever grateful that we hired the 30-some-odd-year-old fresh-faced head coach who every media analyst was completely just bashing whenever we got him. Look at us now.
Let me ask you this. I did not give you time to prep for this question, so we're just kicking it around here at this point. if McVay doesn't win that Super Bowl, I'm sure he's still regarded as a good head coach. But if he loses to a Cincinnati team that's got the offensive line who can't hardly block anyone, how do you think that changes how everybody else looks at McVay until he did win one?
I mean, 0-2 in a Super Bowl or in Super Bowls isn't, that's not a great look.
Right.
But, I don't know. What's the time? I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. We only know what is. I just know how people are today with media and how our emotions, our thoughts change so quickly from literally 1 minute to the next. So I thought I would kick it out there. But
what if what is his name? Jaquiski Tart, the 49ers safety, caught that pick?
Right.
Is Sean McVay even in people's top 5 at the end of this season?
Right. One reason I ask is Andy Reid went the longest time without winning one. And for a lot of people, not for me, but for a lot of people, he wasn't in the top 10 for them because of that. Yeah. And then he wins one and he kind of vaults back up into everybody's top 3 or top 5 or whatever. Essentially he's the same guy the whole time. It's just a matter of public perception, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, it has a ton to do with it.
It does. All right. Well, Ronan, this has been awesome. For people who like what they've heard and they want to hear more, tell them a couple of places where they can find more of your work, specifically about the Rams.
So if you want to find out about the Rams, you can hop on my page on Fantom Sports, just Ronan Summers, RonanSummers. You can find my Instagram, ronan.summers, same spelling. And there in my bio will be a link to everything I produce, whether it's articles, podcasts, tweets, whatever you need, it's all right there. So if you want to find me, anything of mine, just go on my Instagram, ronan.summers, in the bio.
Ronan, it's been a blast. I've enjoyed talking about the Rams. Maybe in a few weeks we'll do it again, heading toward the draft. But thank you so much for being with us today, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.